This topic is Mary, okay? So it's the first topic of section/question 2. So, if you had to describe the key events in Mary's life, all right, sort of do it in chronological order if you want, all right? So, first of all, the Immaculate Conception, the belief that she was conceived without sin so that she could house or home Jesus in her womb, all right, and be sin-free. Then you've got the Annunciation, all right? It was when Mary was told, or when Mary accepted God's offer to be the mother of Jesus, okay? Then you've got the virgin birth, all right? She gave birth to Jesus, allowed the incarnation to take place. You've then got what's called the Assumption, okay? So at the end of her life, Mary didn't die, but she was raised into heaven, all right, as sort of a reward for her service. Those are the four key things. Now, as the sort of fifth one, if it came up as for that describe, you can talk about the fact that there are the visions of Mary, that whilst it didn't take place in her life, that she's appeared to people throughout history, whether that be sort of like in Lourdes or Knock in Ireland that we've spoken about before, and you can talk about that. If you want to mention some of this within her life, you can say about the fact that Mary was present at Jesus' death, all right, or you can say about Mary raising Jesus, but if you say about him being she was present at Jesus' death, then what you can say is that it shows sort of the amount that she loved and the amount she went through in service for God. She even watched her son die. Now, you could be asked what's called how or why Catholics honour Mary. Now, don't use the word love or worship, okay? Focus on the word honour or venerate, something like that, okay? So, now, how they do it. First of all, they pray the Hail Mary. Why? Because essentially it's saying like, woo, Mary, you're amazing. Okay? That's a real paraphrase of the Hail Mary. Now, so that sort of so that shows love to her, shows sort of like that she's honoured, all right, thing. Then, how else they do it? They go on a Marian pilgrimage. So you can say about they go to Lourdes. Why? Because it shows special devotion to her, all right, and they sort of shows the elevated role that she has. Another way they do it is by praying the Rosary. Why? Because that prayer takes sort of like dedication, and it's all about sort of, or not all about, but it has a big focus on obviously praising Mary because of the amount of Hail Marys that are said in them. Okay, so you can talk about that. There are 5 different decades of the Hail Mary that they say. There are also feast days that are just for her. All right, the Immaculate Conception, we should know that from our school, and the Assumption, all right, and they sort of just help to remind us of Mary's key importance, all right, so that's why we celebrate them. We name churches and schools after her, all right, link that to our school when it is named after her, all right, or your primary school if you went to St. Mary's. Now, so you can what's called say that shows like thing, and also then you got through art and statues. You have like the Eloisa, okay, or you have the Theotokos, that you've got sort of like those dedicated things to about Mary that sort of just help us to understand what she did and what her role was. So that's how we honour her. Now, why they do it, okay, is what's called, first of all, is that she's the mother of God, okay, the mother of Jesus, the Theotokos, all right? So if she's the mother of Jesus, we should remind her of everything she's done. She deserves our sort of honour. She's a big deal. Without her, no Jesus, essentially, right? The next one is Mary's our mother as well. Why is this? Because we are, if God's our father, okay, and Jesus is God's son, then that makes us brothers and sisters with Jesus. So therefore, she's our mother too. All right, so we should treat her in that way if you want, okay, and honor her like we would do our parents. Then you've what's called got the other one, that Mary's the intercessor. All right. So that's another reason sort of why we honour her, why we venerate. So if we honour in her, we're grateful of her role as the intercessor. But if it's why she's important, you can say that she's important because she's the intercessor. She passes on. We can pray to her, and she can petition or ask God to help us in our lives, okay, with the prayer that we've asked. The next one where we honour her is because Mary is a model or an example for us to follow, all right, so is worthy of our honour. Why? When she dedicated her life to God, she was asked to sort of, to be the mother of Jesus. Well, if she wasn't believed, then she could have been stoned for her actions, but she still did it in love and service of God, and we should honour her for that, and we should follow her example, okay? And you can also say honouring Mary follows God's example. Why? Because God sort of is placed sort of importance on her and honoured her by raising her, okay, raising her to heaven in the Assumption rather than allowing her to die, okay? It's almost like that special treatment that he gave her that we should follow suit. if you get this is an evaluation question, the reasons why Mary isn't important, you could say that her role isn't needed, okay? Her role is needed for the intercessor, because God's supposed to be omnipotent, omnipresent, omnibenevolent, so he should know when he needs to answer sort of our prayers. Then also, all right, you could say that we should focus our devotion on God, not Mary, okay? So the time we spend devoted to Mary, we could be spending this on God, and we're told to only love God, okay? So whilst honour isn't love, right, you can say that we should be spending that time just focusing on God. The other thing is that some people consider the honour that we show Mary to be love, all right, or to be worship. And we're told to only worship God. So, for example, the Rosary has a big focus on sort of like on Mary, okay, and big focus on Mary, and doing the amount of sort of that we pray to her sort of is disproportionate to the amount that we would pray to God. So you could say that, well, if we're praying more to Mary in the Rosary, then are we showing her love? Are we doing more for her than we would God? And as a result of that, then some people say that we should calm our jets really about when it comes to honouring Mary. Now, you also could be asked about, when it comes to Mary, praying to Mary, okay? So explain why Catholics pray to Mary. So first of all, she's the mother of God and our mother, so we turn to her just like we would our own mother when we're in need of help. That's point one. Point two is that she's the intercessor. It's her job. We pray to her, she passes it on for us to God. The Catholics pray to Mary because it's a way of honouring her. For example, Hail Mary or the Rosary, that sort of stuff, that it is praising her for what she's done. Another reason that they do it is that they're encouraged by the church, okay? So the church sort of says that we should go to Lourdes, we should pray to Mary. Do you mean, like, it teaches us about the importance, and you can see this about the fact that they've made the Feast of the Immaculate Conception and the Assumption, do you mean, 2 days, holy days of obligation, okay? 2 feast days. Then the final one, okay, it's part of, so why they pray to Mary, is part of our main form of worship, so it takes place in the Mass, all right? So you could say that, obviously, it means we're encouraged by the church to do it, but also we do it because it forms part of our main form of worship to God, all right? But then it's a section within it that's just focusing on honouring Mary. So, when it comes to the alternative for this, about when it comes to pray to Mary, you just use the same stuff I said before. No point when it comes to the intercessor, could be considered to be worship, only focus our honour on God. When it comes to, we could be asked, right, one final one about the visions of Mary, okay? So it's quite, I would be focusing here on Lourdes, okay? So if I get asked about, describe one of the visions of Mary, I would be saying, right, so, in 1858, okay, it's quite specific details, so if you can't remember that, never mind, but if you can, amazing. So, in 1858, all right, the Virgin Mary, who identified herself as the Immaculate Conception, appeared to Bernadette, who was 14 years old, okay? Now, she appeared in total 17 times, okay, and told Bernadette to tell the church authorities, okay, that they need to build a church, okay, they need to build a church where she's appeared, and to bring their sick to Lourdes to be healed, okay. The lady, all right, so Mary urged people, okay, to sort of pray and do penance there, okay. So if you think about before, when we spoke about sort of pilgrimage, that it's the idea that penance and reconciliation, that sort of stuff, that's why there's the reconciliation chapel there as well. So once you sort of given her these instructions, Mary then gave her a final one of going, and washing in the spring. Now, when Bernadette did this, she turned around and there was no spring there, okay? It was just mud. So essentially, Bernadette got down and washed her face in mud, all right? Now, there was some water, okay? There was some water, that she's there, but essentially she digged and then she washed her face in mud. The next day, though, she went back and the spring, okay, that Bernadette had found was flowing with water. So that's one of the visions of Mary. So to summarise that, really, she appeared to Bernadette. She appeared 17 times. She said, you need to build a great church. Tell the church authorities to build a great church. She said, they need to take their sick here. You need to focus on prayer and penance here. Then go wash in the mud, essentially, right? Go and wash where's the spring. Bernadette dug. She found a little bit of water, started washing herself with basically mud. However, next day went back and it was gushing with water, okay? The spring sort of had really sort of started to flow. Now, you could be asked, though, right, to describe the visions of Mary, okay? So, if you are with that, all right, then you can focus on Lourdes, all right? You can just sort of summarize what I've said, but then you've got the idea of Penrhys, okay, that you can mention about the fact that Mary appeared. It's called the vision of Mary appeared in a tree, okay, and it was called, that was considered to be sort of immovable, couldn't be sort of taken away. You've got Cardigan, where Our Lady was found, it was called next to the river, holding a lighted taper, so she's called Our Lady and the Taper. You've then got the example in Knock in Ireland, where Our Lady appeared praying with St. Joseph and St. John, okay, on sort of like the one side of the church. Then finally, you've got Fatima, okay, which is in Portugal, where Our Lady appeared to 3 shepherd girls and told them the 3 secrets of Fatima, which were penance, make sacrifices to save sinners, and to pray the Rosary every day, okay? Which takes me on quite nicely to our final one of the Rosary, okay? Now, you could be asked to describe, I can't imagine them asking you the importance of the Rosary, okay? Well, they might, but how sort of they pray the Rosary. So, first things first, all right? They start off by holding the crucifix, they make the sign of the cross and recite the Apostles' Creed. That's the first thing. Then, they recite the Our Father on the first bead, then they recite the Hail Mary, all right? And they do this on each one of the next 3 beads. Once they've done this, they say glory be to the Father, okay, and the Fatima pray on the cord or the chain, all right? After this point, what they do is that they read one of the mysteries, okay? So it could be a joyful mystery or a mystery of light or sorrowful or glorious mysteries, depending on what is they're focusing on that day or the day of the week, all right? So once they've done that, they say a decade of the Rosary. So they say 10 Hail Marys, all right? And then what they do on sort of the chain or the cord, they say the glory be to the Father and the Fatima prayer again. They then repeat this another 4 times, okay? Because you say 5 decades of the Rosary. When it comes to the end, okay, that it is customary, all right, that you finish with the Hail Holy Queen, okay, and the sign of the cross to sort of end it all, all right? Now, I did forget there's one little thing, I'm just sort of scanning my notes here, that you've got the Our Father as well, that when it comes to, you say the decade, okay, and then you say the Our Father, all right, between it as well. I am sorry, okay, so you've got the Our Father between each one of the decades. Now, why is this important? Well, it's important because, number 1, it's a way that we can show devotion to Mary. Number 2, it shows sort of like our sort of dedication, because it takes so blooming long to get it done, all right? Also, why is it important? It reminds us of our core beliefs, so the mysteries, all right? They teach us all about sort of like core events that happen in Jesus' life. That you can say that it provides us an opportunity to show devotion. I've said that one. It helps us to understand Jesus more clearly. You can talk about the sort of the mysteries again there, and it helps us to understand the Trinity more clearly. Okay, so you can say about the fact that throughout the day you've got praise to God, you focus on the life of Jesus, but also you've got the fact you're saying the sign of the cross, that type of thing, however, means that you're in the presence of the Trinity, but also reminds us of all 3 parts of it as well. So, alternative, why the Rosary isn't that important? Well, you can say, number 1, all right, the personal prayer is more important rather than just regurgitating the same thing. You could say that there are other ways to understand our core beliefs rather than just reading the mysteries or praying the Rosary. And then finally, some people may consider it to be worship because the amount that we're sort of saying to Mary, all right? And that sort of summarizes Mary and the Rosary beads.